ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining in. हमें आशा कम थी इंडिया पाकिस्तान के मैच के होते हुए. शंका था कि लोग आएंगे नहीं आएंगे. सो मैंने कहा अपने होस्ट को भी पता करो क्या सीन है. तो उन्होंने बोला कि हाँ प्रभु जी लोग कह रहे हैं आएंगे. तो मुझे लगा शायद पिछले हफ्ते हमने यज्ञ सेक्रीफाइस की बात करी थी, तो शायद आज प्रैक्टिकल डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन करने के लिए अब अपने क्रिकेट इंटरेस्ट का सेक्रीफाइस कर रहे हैं. सो आई डोंट नो, लेट्स लुक एट द पॉजिटिव साइड. नो प्रॉब्लम. ऑल राइट, सो वी आर ऑन द थर्ड चैप्टर ऑफ भगवद गीता. Very, very important subjects we discussed last time. I'll do a quick recap of it. How many of you were there last time? Okay, good. Let me put it that. How many of you were not there last time? Who didn't? So many of you were not there last time. Okay. How many of you, among those of you who raised your hand, saw the recording? It was shared on the group. Some of you. So those of you have not, if in case you understand anything or not from the whole Bhagavad Gita, please do go and hear the last subject. It's directly relevant for your life where you're working as a professional. Maybe I'll give you a quick introduction of it now. Is my sound okay? All right. So in the second chapter, we learnt about the concept of we are more than a body. Rather than saying I'm not a body, I would put it another way. I would say we are more than a body. We are just not merely a body, but there is a spirit soul, which actually is the cause because of which we're moving around. So now the reality is, if I'm just not a body, if I'm also a soul, how does my tomorrow looks different than today? So for maintenance of the body, we have to work, isn't it? That's what we do. What about the maintenance of the soul? Then how do we maintain our soul, isn't it? Anything in this creation requires maintenance, care. So we are caring for the body. We have spent 17, 18 years in education to get some education, get a job, and we are struggling to maintain ourselves. But how do you take care of the soul? Because it's different than the body. So Krishna in second chapter talks about two dharmas, which means two kind of occupations, swadharma, nitya dharma. One of the major aspects of the discussion of Bhagavad Gita is to find a balance or bring a balance between swadharma and nitya dharma. Now, let me just give you one example so you understand. If you take care of the body, even if you go to gym, you have a most healthy body, you still would have many reasons to be unhappy about life. One reason is if emotionally you're not content. And I often give an example. Imagine for a second you're the richest person of this world. You own an island, and in that island you have built the biggest mansion. Unfortunately, you're the only person living in that island, in that mansion. You still would have reasons to complain, isn't it? Despite having the best quality of food, everything with your body. So, Swadharma allows us to take care of the body, but Nitya Dharma is essential. Otherwise, we will not ever find one thing which we are always looking. What is that one thing we are always searching for? Happiness. You look for money for happiness. So, money is the means to get happiness. Money is not the goal. Happiness. Despite finding everything, we're still looking for happiness. It will not happen unless we have taken care of the needs of the soul. So how do we take care of the needs of the soul? It's itself as a subject matter which is called as yoga, and there are different ways of doing it. Karma yoga, Jnana yoga, Ashtanga yoga, it is also called Hatha yoga at times, and then Bhakti yoga. Krishna looking at the condition and knowing the fact that everyone just cannot give up their occupational responsibilities, family responsibilities, and walk in the forest and take to the renunciation. So Krishna says, it ain't going to work. Because that's just not possible for all of us to do that. How to, for example, let's say, what does the parents do to a child? If parents want child to make a progress, they find a solution which is acceptable to that level, isn't it? You don't give a solution to the child which you think which is acceptable to you. You give a solution which is acceptable at the level of the child, because you know that child can accept this much and then it will make a progress. Yes or no? So therefore, Krishna gives us a solution in stage wise. Karma yoga, Jnana yoga, Ashtanga yoga, and Hatha yoga, and Bhakti yoga. So what solution? That solution has been elaborated in the third chapter, what we discussed last time, where how many of you have come from a background where your parents used to do all kind of vratas? Monday ko this vrata, Tuesday ko that vrata, Wednesday that vrata, Thursday vrata, 7 days a week, 365 days in a year, some fasting. How many of you have had that background? Please raise your hand. And the idea of that vrata was to please somebody up there in the heavens. You want to call it heavens and whatnot. What if, forget about all these vratas. What if, okay, let me put it this way. Even if you are a religious person, for you to maintain your body, you still have to work. It's not that because I'm religious, I'm just going to go and sit in the temple, ring a bell, and I'll be able to maintain my body. Isn't it? You still have to work. So what if a solution is given where your work becomes the worship? How does it sound? Now, is it sounds attractive, interesting? Wherein you don't have to ring a bell, you don't have to quit anything. You continue with what you're doing for maintaining your body, but do it in a consciousness wherein that work becomes worship. How many of you are willing to take up to this worship? If I give you this model of worship, where your work, that work you're doing, itself becomes a worship. Please raise your hand now. Sounds acceptable? That is chapter 3, that is called as Karma Yoga. वो क्या है वो हमने पिछले सत्र में चर्चा करी है. जिन्होंने मिस करा है, go and listen to the recording now. I'm going to move forward from there. So two things, just to give an introduction still. Two concepts we largely discussed. There were other concepts also, which I'm not going to recap. Second chapter, I believe verse number 47, Krishna says, Karmane vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan ma karma phal heturbhar ma ate sangas karmani. Krishna first of all talks about the science of art of work. How do we perform work? How should we do work? When Krishna is talking about how do you do work, he is not talking about how do you engage your senses. Because those are details. If you're a doctor, you're going to get that detailed knowledge in a medical college. If you're an engineer, how do you engage your senses? That's the subject matter of engineering college, isn't it? That's not a subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. What Bhagavad Gita is focusing on? Bhagavad Gita doesn't focus on how you engage your senses. Bhagavad Gita focuses on what's your consciousness. Bhagavad Gita focuses on what's your consciousness. So here, Bhagavad Gita actually works on the level of consciousness, and Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, how do you perform your duty? You have to remember 4 things while performing an action. Anyone remembers from the last time? What was the first thing you should remember while performing an action? Yes, Madhusudha. Concentrate, which means do your duty. You have the right to perform your duty. So, concentrate. Be responsible. Do not act irresponsibly. How many of you today faces a challenge with concentration and the things that you do? Please raise your hand. You struggle with concentration, focus, and the things that you do. Raise your hand, please. अपना तो पहला स्टेप ही बिगड़ा हुआ है. आगे तुम जाए क्या अभी? हाँ नहीं हाँ. But look at this, and all the social media and things of that nature have only disturbed and destroyed. I'm not against social media. It has its utility. But the problem is, utility is only when you know how to use it. Today we are getting utilized or abused by it. So we have to take care of it. So that's the first thing. Second, okay, what's the second principle in the art of work? All right, we have the young boy here. Go ahead. Be detached. Detached from what? From the results. Now, does it make sense? How can I be detached from the results? You better be detached from the results, because all of our tension, anxiety, stress that we carry in our life is because of our attachment to the result. Yes or no? We keep on thinking. Before even you start the work, how many of you have that experience? Before even you start the work, you keep dreaming about it. Kal mujhe safalta milegi, to kaisa hoga, kitna acha hoga. How many of you have, raise your hand, how many of you have this experience? You go into daydreaming. So much so that you sometimes don't even start the work. How many of you have that experience? वो डे ड्रीमिंग में खत्म हो जाता है. ना जाने कितने यहाँ पे बैठे हुए नासा में काम भी करके आगे होंगे, रिटायर भी हो चुके होंगे. हाँ है ना? Some of you may be by now ex-employee of Microsoft, Amazon, Google. सपने में ना जाने कहाँ घूम घाम के आ चुके होंगे. So be detached, which means you can only be detached when you're responsible. Be responsible, be detached. Now be detached. If I need to withdraw myself, for example, let's say I walk forward. For me to walk forward, I need to detach my previous step from the flow. To be able to detach my previous step from the flow, my first step has to be put somewhere. So detachment cannot function without attachment. Without holding on to something, you cannot detach. What is that holding on to something? We'll come back to it. Okay. Third point. What was the third secret to the art of work? Who remembers? You have answered. Anyone else who remember? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. It's an open book question. You're allowed to look at your notes if in case you happen to make notes. Yes. From being doer to service attitude. Okay. The third point is, don't become proud. You are not the doer. That's the point. You're not the doer. Remember the example that I gave, for example, construction company building a apartment, and you happen to be a hired labor. Remember that? So that's the point. So don't be proud, because there are three doers. We spoke about the concept of karma plus daiva plus kala gives you result. An example to help you understand that, I gave an example of a farmer sowing the seed. That is karma. What is daiva? What is daiva? Rains. It doesn't depend on you and I. Karma is my action. Daiva is the rains. And then kal, wait for the time. Take care of the project. Wait for the time. And then when all the three things align in line, then you get the result. So you're not the doer because you're only 1/3 of the performer. 2/3 is beyond you. So that's the third secret of art of work. What is the fourth secret of art of work? Yes. Don't be lazy. Never say I quit. Never say I will not do it. That's what Krishna says. If you think you're not going to work, you can't even maintain your body. Even to maintain yourself, you need to work. And therefore, because work is something which is inevitable, Krishna gives us an approach of establishing our relationship with the Supreme, which is easy and doable. We don't have to quit our job, nothing. While performing, convert our job into a worship. Now this is, right now, work has not been converted into worship. Right now, this is the right methodologies of performing work, so you remain happy and content. How do you convert your work into worship is the next subject matter. Let's take a look at it. That is called as art of smart work. And this is where Krishna describes about how do you convert your work into worship. So among the four steps of art of work, the second step was be detached. So I said, if you have to detach, you have to be attached to something. And that is answered in this verse. Please repeat after me. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya dhyatma chetasa nirasha nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. Yudhasva matlab fight. That's your occupation, Arjuna. Vigata jvaraha. Jvara means bimari. किस चीज़ की बीमारी? आलसपन की बीमारी. Arjuna, give up your laziness, get up and fight. That's your responsibility. Fight for whom? मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि. आप जो भी कुछ कर रहे हैं वह मेरे लिए करिए, मेरी प्रसन्नता के लिए करें. That becomes worship. Now when you render worship, when you show incense or light up incense, when you light up lamp, it is done for whose pleasure? For the Lord's pleasure, right? You ring a bell, you offer some bhoga to the Lord, you celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi, now Navratri is about to start. You do it for whose pleasure? It is meant to be His pleasure, or her pleasure. Similarly, work becomes worship if work is done as a service to Him. Is that concept clear? Straightforward, so simple. But people have spent lives or lives to understand this simple concept. So work becomes worship if it is done for Him. That is what Mai Sarvani Karmani. How do I perform that work? Sanyasya adhyatma chetasaha, which means being detached from the consequences or the results. Sanyas adhyatma chetasaha. Be fixed in the consciousness that you are doing for me because I have ordered you. Don't be conscious of the result that's beyond you. निराशिर आशा, कोई आशा मत रखना, क्या मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा, जीत मिलेगी हार मिलेगी, इस सब की आशा छोड़ दो. निर्ममो, आई एंड माइंड की बात मत करो. निराशिर निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगता ज्वरः. That's the art of smart work. Do it as a pleasure, for the pleasure of me. Do not count the result, because I'm going to give you the result. It's my responsibility. Your work is your responsibility. Do the job. And while doing the job, do not say I and mine. Why? Because you're only 1/3 of the doer. 2/3 is beyond you. Now this consciousness, to develop this consciousness, is a process of bhakti yoga. To come to this level of consciousness is a process of bhakti yoga. And person with such a consciousness is a true yogi. Yogi is not the one who has worn necessarily a saffron attire or who is wandering into the forest away from the city life. No, that's not necessarily a yogi. That person could be far much more attached within his mind with the sense objects. But you, regardless of your gender, regardless of your age, regardless of your caste, color, creed, background, everyone can develop this consciousness if we follow the process of bhakti yoga. And what is the process? It begins from the platform of I and it concludes to the platform of we. Therefore, there is a concept called as Vasudevaha Kutumbakam. How many of you know this word Vasudeva Kutumbakam? Raise your hand. Have you ever wondered what is the purport of this? Vasudeva Kutumbakam means one family, which means we. Right now, we are in I consciousness. To we consciousness, that's the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. And the process is called as Bhakti Yoga. And what is the very first step of this process of Bhakti Yoga? Is chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. How many of you who are here chant this Vedic sound or Vedic mantra every day? Please raise your hands here. So those of you who have raised your hand, all of you have a bead bag? How many of you don't have a bead bag, those who have raised their hands? Don't have a bead bag. So do get a bead bag. Do we have bead bag at the counter? We do have the bead bag. Please do that. In case if you have a question about why do we chant on a bead bag, I can take it at the end of the session so you understand the importance of it. Please remember, process means there is a system. Process doesn't mean you can do anything. You understand? When you call a process, it means there is a process, there is a system defined how that process is going to function. So chanting, how to chant, if it is part of the process that you have to chant on a bead, on the beads, then you follow the process that's going to be effective. To say that, no, I'm going to chant this way, that way, if you don't apply yourself to the process, there's no guarantee of the result. Then you're on your own. So please, and don't debate about it. Why not? If you have a doubt, we can discuss about it. But my simple request would be, follow through the process. You will see the result, not next lifetime, in a very short span of time. All right? How many of you here, maybe some of you are new, that's okay, do not have this process or practice of mantra meditation we just described here? Can you raise your hand just to have an idea? How many of you don't do that? That's totally fine. Some of you could be new. Just want to see. How many of you do not do this mantra meditation every day? Just want to see. And you could be very new, that's totally fine. Raise your hand high up. Okay, some of you here, probably you are new. If in case you have been already kind of coming here and joining all these sessions, I would request, please do this. Just like yoga has become so important for maintenance of body again, my question to all of you is, what are you doing for your soul? What are you doing for your soul? And if it is not content, if it is not nourished, whatever you do, you would never be happy. Think about your life until now. We were always given hopes. You graduate from school, you go to college, life would be beautiful. You graduate from college, you get a job, life will be beautiful. I'm not saying life is horrible. Life is good, hoping life is good. And then hopes are given, get married, life will be so and so. I'm assuming life went in that direction. How many of you say, my search is over now? Or are you still searching for something? If you're still searching for something, which means search was never over. You were just given a post-dated check. Sometime in future, by the time बच्चे कुछ दांत भी गिर जाएंगे, बाल भी झड़ जाएंगे, फिर ना सुनने की क्षमता रहेगी ना कहने की क्षमता रहेगी. So please take it on priority. Don't let your life go in waste. All right. So when after all this discussion happened, yes, please go ahead. We'll take a question. Can we just have a quick mic? It's recorded also and I can't hear also.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, please go ahead.
How about hearing mantra? I have that mantra chanting. I got it from ISKCON temple. Does that it helps, or only chatting mantra will help?
So what's your question? Hearing.
Hearing mantra.
Which is wonderful. But most effective way is to chant.
Okay.
Because mantra, the idea of mantra is to deliver you from your mind. So when you hear, only one sense is engaged.
Okay.
Now when you chant, there are 5 knowledge acquiring senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch.
Okay.
So when you're hearing only, out of 5, only one sense is active. It will have some effect on your mind. But now along with hearing, you speak the 2 senses and you chant on the beads, 3 senses, and now you keep a form of Hare Krishna Mahamantra of the deity in front of you, 4 senses. Now you have 4 senses engaged, knowledge acquiring senses. Can you imagine how fastly, how quickly you will get delivered from your mind? Yes or no?
Yeah.
It's simple calculation. So that's the way. That's great. All right?
Thank you.
So when all this discussion happened, this is where we paused last time. Arjuna said, my dear Lord, I agree. I understand Karma Yoga is the best way going forward. However, I have a simple question here. And the question is, how many of you have felt when you come to forums like this, you feel inspired and you feel like, Bas, aaj se shuru. Niche pahunchte tak, you forget everything that happened above. How many of you have that experience? Raise your hand, please. Which means, intellectually we may get settled, but our determination doesn't last for long. It dwindles or it dies very quickly, or maybe after some time. And that's how Arjuna raised the question. Even though I know the best course of action, but what is it that impels me time and again to act improperly and against my good intelligence? How many of you have had an experience where you knew this is wrong, yet you ended up doing it? And then you said, why did I do? Why did I do? How many of you have that experience? Raise your hand. शर्माओ मत, हाथ नहीं उठाओगे तो मुझे पता नहीं कि तुम्हारी सच्चाई क्या है. तुम अनोखे हो क्या कोई? नहीं, मैं तो महात्मा आदमी हूँ. अपने संग कभी एक्सीडेंट नहीं हुआ. तुम्हारे संग में सबसे ज़्यादा एक्सीडेंट हुआ है. 200% नहीं, 500% sure. It's the story of each one of us. That's the reason this becomes a very important subject matter. So, we begin our today's topic titled as Conquering Desire. अभी आप फोटो को देख के अपना अपना पर्पट निकाल लो. मैं अपना पर्पट दे दूंगा बाद में. ओके. अब जलते हुए दिल को दिखाया है तो अब आपकी मानसिकता के ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा क्या जल रहा है किसका. Okay. I have my own puppet which I'll give you gradually as you proceed. So this brings us to the last section of the 3rd chapter. The acronym for this chapter was TREE. T for Tyaga, R for Rungs, or letter E for exemplary. And this is the last T, enemy of the soul. So let's take a look at it. So what is the verse actually? The verse is 36 verse 3rd chapter. Atha kena prayokto yam papam charati purushaha anichannapi vashneya baladiva niyojitaha. So here Arjuna is asking Krishna, Atha kena prayokto yam. हे प्रभु, मन में संशय उत्पन्न हो रहा है. अथा केना प्रयुक्त यम पापम चरति पुरुषः. जानता है फिर भी चला जाता है। अथा केना प्रयोक्तयम पापम चरति पुरुषः, जानता है नहीं करना चाहिए फिर भी चला जाता है, चरति पुरुषः, जैसे कि बलादीव नियोजितः, जैसे कि उसको जबरदस्ती खींचा गया हो, अगेंस्ट हिज विल ही इज पुश्ड। अनिच्छन अपि वाष्णया, अनिच्छन अपि वाष्णया, अनिच्छन मतलब बिना इच्छा के, बलादीव नियोजिता, looks like some power, it pulls him doing the wrong thing, and he's all the way saying, no, 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 I don't want to do it, I don't do it. Yet he ends up doing it. Relatable? If you introspect on that situation which you have faced, you might have genuinely prayed also, Prabhu bachalo, nahi karna mujhe, but still we do it. So Arjuna is using a particular word here, balad even yojita. What is that force? There seems to be some force which is pushing us, pulling us, not pushing, pulling us towards that destructive activity. And I every time do it, and I say, Kyo kiya Prabhu, kyo kiya? And yet I'm not able to conquer it. That is called as kamaha. And that translates in English, in the language, in English, in a word called as lust. Don't take the meaning of lust only in terms of a sexual relationship, because lust may be used that way, but kama has a more deeper meaning. We'll come to that. Let's take a look what Krishna responded to Arjuna. And Krishna said, I don't know, probably not visible, right? Maybe I'll just say the shloka and explain you. Krishna responded and he said, Kama esha, krodha esha, rajo guna samudbhavaha, mahashano mahapapma vidhi enam hi varinam. Like I have said many times, it's good practice if you have a copy of Bhagavad Gita to bring it. So, you flip through the pages so you become familiar also. So that way at least you have some learning and experience of going through the Bhagavad Gita. You don't have to just look over there. And plus, when you have a copy of Bhagavad Gita, you can make quick notes on it. If you ever get a see of my copy, you will see so much I have written on my Bhagavad Gita. So much I have rubbed it, so much I have written it. It's a book to be read. That's how you worship Bhagavad Gita, not to just keep it on altar. If you don't have a copy of Bhagavad Gita, go back onto the table later on at the end of the program. You can pick your personal copy from there. So Krishna said, Kam esha krodha esha rajo guna samudbhavaha. So Krishna said, yes, you're asking what is that bala? That bala is called as kama, lust. Esha means certainly. Kam esha krodesha, and that lust, when it is not fulfilled, becomes krodha. What is the origin of kamaha? Kam esha krodesha rajo guna samudbhava. Samudbhava means born, is born of rajo guna. There are three kinds of guna: sattva gun, rajagun, tamogun. How many of you are aware of this, at least terms, sattva gun, rajagun, tamogun? Oh, I'm glad at least some of you are educated in this ancient science. Sattva, Raja, Tamagun. What is the subject matter is elaborately discussed in the 14th chapter in details. We'll see that. It's a fantastic chapter, talks about the human psychology. Just to give you an example for those of you who are new or who have not have an understanding of Bhagavad Gita, have you ever wondered why different people give different reaction to the similar situation? Have you ever thought? For example, stuck in a traffic jam. Some might be just blissed out. Oh, fantastic, I got some time for myself. Otherwise, I'm always running. While others could be like, oh, what is going on? Why is this traffic? Hinjewadi is so bad. Maharashtra is so bad. Falana Nikana. They go on cursing, isn't it? Similar situation, different people give different responses. Like this for many situations could be there. Have you ever thought of it? Have you ever thought, why do people react differently for the same situation? Forget about people. How many times have you reacted differently for the similar situation? Raise your hand. Agar science ke anusar, you are nothing but a bundle of chemicals. Your building blocks are RNA, DNA, which are nothing but the programming code. Now, when you pick a smartphone, when you dial 9, it's supposed to dial 9 every time, isn't it? Regardless of whatever the weather condition. But why do you give a different response? It's a simple, basic question to ask. And that is because of the influence of guna. Different times, different days in your life, you're affected differently by sattva gun, rajagun, tamagun. Whatever influence you have, accordingly you will give response. And that's how the science works. We'll take it later on when the subject matter is discussed in that detail. So Krishna says, Mahashano Mahapapma. Mahashano means super destructive. Krishna could have said Papma. Krishna said Mahapapma. This is not you and I speaking, Krishna speaking. When Krishna is using the word Maha, which means greatest, which means it's the greatest sinful enemy. That's how Krishna is defining Kama. Mahashano Mahapapma. Vidhi ka matlab hota hai janiye, to know. Vidhi Veda. That's how the root word. Enam Iha Verinam. Arjuna, please understand. Kama is your greatest enemy. Your enemy does not exist outside of us. Your greatest enemy is within you. Our greatest battle is not to be fought outside of us. Our greatest battle has to be fought within us. The battlefield of Kurukshetra is not outside for us. The battlefield of Kurukshetra is our own heart, where the bad habits of Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Masarya are acting as the generals of Kauravas. Lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy. These had been our well-wishers, relatives and teachers. So when we face them, we also give up our weapons, like Arjuna wanted to give a weapon in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Oh, how can I fight with lust? Lust has taken care of me all my life. How can I fight with envy? He taught me how to be envious of others. He is my guru. I will not fight with my guru. I will not fight with my great-grandfather. And like Arjuna, we also give up our weapons when we are faced with his enemies. The only way for us to rise above that situation is if you become Arjuna in your life, as Arjuna took shelter of Krishna. For you, Krishna is present through his words. And if you take shelter of Bhagavad Gita, then you will also win the battle of this life, like Arjuna won the battle of Kurukshetra. That is how Bhagavad Gita goes about it. So, Krishna identified and Krishna answered to Arjuna. This is lust. That's the power that pushes you or pulls you towards the path of destruction. He's your greatest enemy. Now, how does this lust covers you? Krishna gives an analogy. I'm not going to go into details of it, but he says different species are covered differently by this lust. That's okay. I'll go move forward. Arjuna asks, can you tell me more about this enemy, my dear Lord, who has been devouring from within? Krishna said, yes, let me tell you. And now Krishna says something very interesting and very scary. And what is the scary part of it? And right in the beginning, he said he's your greatest enemy. And now Krishna says he's not only your greatest enemy, he's your eternal enemy. Which means it is this lust or kamaha that keeps destroying your soul's aspiration life after life, life after life, and keeps you bound in this place of suffering, birth after birth. Let's take a look what Krishna says. Please repeat after me. Avritam jnanametena. Loudly, loudly, everyone. Avritam jnanametena. Jnanino nityaverina. Kamarupena kaunteya. Dushpurena nalena cha. ये ऐसा दुश्मन है, आवृतम मतलब ढक देना. That has covered your intelligence. Avritam jnanam ethena. Jnanino nitya verina. Please know, jnanino. Nitya means forever. Veri means bury. Hindi में bury शब्द होता है. That comes from very. He is your forever enemy. Kam rupena kaunteya. And he is known by the name of Kama. Rupa means he is known or recognized in the form of Kama. And Dushpurena Nalena cha. How much ever you agree to his terms and conditions, he would never be pleased, never be satisfied. Therefore, I have put a picture of this thirsty man. Let's take a look at two things, Nityaveri and Dushpurena Nalenacha. What does this Nityaveri means? When we live our life in this world in different situations, we develop sometimes some animosity with different individuals. How many of you have ever stood in a ticket line at a railway station to book a ticket? Please raise your hand. कितने लोग लाइन में कभी खड़े हुए हैं ट्रेन स्टेशन पे टिकट बुक करने के लिए? So all of you would have a experience of it. कई बार धक्का मुक्की हो जाती थी. कई बार हम धक्का मुक्की देते थे, कई बार कोई और धक्का मुक्की देकर हमें कहीं आगे पीछे कर देता था और तुरंत वहाँ दुश्मनी हो जाती थी. यस, वहाँ गाली कर, ए तूने मुझे धक्का मारा, ये कर कर आके. But the moment you get a ticket, the moment other party gets a ticket, you forget about it. Yes? So that is only a short-lived enemy or animosity. Like this. Second degree of animosity is अगर कोई आपके नाम का सुपारी दे दे. पान पराग वाला सुपारी नहीं कह रहा मैं बॉम्बे की भाषा में सुपारी की बात कर रहा हूँ. समझ गए ना? ज़्यादा नहीं बोलूँगा, घबरा जाओगे. तो समझ गए. तो सोचिए अगर आपके नाम की कोई सुपारी दे दे तो एक व्यक्ति आपके पीछे बंदूक लेके घूमेगा. Not for a security, to set a target and close the target. So that is a greater degree of enemy that will walk behind you till the time you are dead. But Krishna says Kama is not even that. He is such an enemy which chases after you life after life, life after life, whichever species of life you go. That's Nityavarina. Scared enough? Now, another thing Krishna says, Dushpurena Nalena Cha. This rascal can never be satisfied. Let me give an example. Imagine 25th December 2023. Fast forward. You had been dreaming about buying a car, your dream car. Finally, 25th December 2023 is the day when you get your dream car. How many of you will be excited? मेरे सारी अरमानें पूरी हो गई, सारी आशाएं पूरी हो गई. How many of you will be excited? Raise your hand. Your dream car, you're buying it on 25th December 2023. Super excited about it? And you'll have a big photo with that big key. कहीं पे भी आप शोरूम के पास जाओ तो आपको नकली फोटो, नकली चाबी देते हैं और कहते हैं फोटो खिंचवाओ. मुस्कुराते आप फोटो खिंचाओगे, इंस्टाग्राम में फोटो, फेसबुक पे फोटो. I got my dream car. हरी बोल like this. You get your car, sit with your family, friends, depending on your bachelor or married, and you start the engine and you're driving as if भारत के राजा हम ही हैं. हौसला इतना बुलंद हो जाता है उस दिन जब हमारी इच्छा पूरी होती है ना, बस सारी इच्छा पूरी हो गई है. And you're driving back royally to your house, right at the corner of the street before you take the final turn to your apartment. There is a big billboard. आ रहा है नया मॉडल of your dream car with 20% discount, releasing in a week from now. How many of you say क्या है, दिल के टुकड़े हो गए? कुछ गाना था ना ऐसा, कुछ अभी क्या था, दिल के अरमान टूट गए. हाँ, दिल के अरमान आंसू में बह गए. हाथ खड़ा करो किस किस बहने वाले हैं. हाँ या ना? I mean, you were so excited when you got the key. Just 10 minutes later on, you're saying, oh, यार नया मॉडल आ रहा है. Why did I took this? So it's never fulfilled. Yes or no? Think about in your own life, you had been longing for something. The moment you got it, next day onwards, there is no more charm in it. Yes or no? Raise your hand, please. How many of you agree? We just need to be a little bit introspective. We've just shunned ourselves from our intelligence. We don't want to use our intelligence. It has become a dull, rusted. You use your intelligence, you can see whatever you had aspired so much. When you get it, next day onward, it just doesn't matter so much to you. Either be the smartphone, either be the job, whatnot. Or either be, your marriage or having a child or going to America, whatnot. Doesn't matter the following day. It all becomes the same hackneyed, lazy thing. But we were so excited when we first got it. And the next day onward, कहीं और दिल के अरमान set हो जाते हैं. Yes or no? And that's how the life goes. So that's the reason Dushpurena Nalena Cha. All right. So enough introduction to this enemy called as lust. Any questions on it? So what the lust means, because we titled as conquering desire, lust means desires. and our desires have no limits. And we are talking about conquering desire. Again, that's possible only through the process of bhakti yoga. You have to apply yourself. You have to take to this process of mantra meditation. You will be amazed how miracles begin to unfold within your life, how your aspirations begin to change. What you were so attached until yesterday, today, it will not even attract you anymore. It would look like, oh, what a wasteful thing was it? Why am I wasting my life for it? But if you're going to sit on an armchair, just like a comfortable man and don't make an endeavor of it, nothing going to change for you. So we have to give up our laziness in the case of all of you. I'm not saying quit your job, continue with your job, but take to the process of mantra meditation. You got to apply it. You got to do it from today. There's no excuse for not doing it. You're losing time like this. So let's come to the last part of this discussion. How do you defeat enemy? Imagine you're standing at the Indian border with Pakistan and you have to defeat the enemy. What is the first thing needed to know while fighting your enemy? Weakness, how many weapons he hold, what else? Recognize enemy. The most important thing you need to know, where is the enemy? Knowing the weapon and all that is secondary. If you have to shoot an enemy, you have to know where is the enemy hiding. That's the first point. And that's how Krishna begins to help Arjuna fighting this lust or desire by teaching him where it resides. So where does the enemy reside? Krishna answers. Okay, not the best color here for the timing. All right. Visible or not? Visible? Okay, great. Indriyani mano buddhir asya dhishthanam uchyate etaye vimohyati esha jnanam avritya dehinam. So Krishna says this enemy resides at three places. The Indriya, Manah and Buddhir. Asya adhishthanam uchyate. Adhisthana means the place. The sitting place of this enemy is your senses, mind and intelligence. And this is how this enemy has conquered everything about our existence. Let me give you an example to help you understand how much we are compromised and how much we are vulnerable to suffering. Let's do a hypothesis here. I want all of you to imagine. Imagine today is 13th of August 2023. You are the director of police of Delhi. You are the in charge of security for the 15th of August celebrations. All the dignitaries going to assemble there. It's a big event. All right? You are the in charge. You're in your office and you get a phone on your landline with an international number. You look at the number and it looks like from Afghanistan or Pakistan. You lift the phone. हेलो आ रहे हैं 15 अगस्त को उड़ाने के लिए बचा सकते हो बचा लो line disconnected. You are responsible for securing the lives of thousands and thousands who are going to assemble on the 15th August. What could you do? One thing is you realize this is beyond me. This is a case of this is a situation of national security now. Let's hand over the whole case to the chief of the army because they are well trained up in dealing with this kind of terrorist situations. So you pass on this whole case to the chief of the army. Army takes over the whole scenario. Army having an experience, they decide we have to set 3 levels of security. So even if one level of security is compromised, a second level of security would definitely be got. If not, third level of security, to pakka hi pakada jayega. So they decide 3 levels of security periphery. The first level of security is you will have, the gate, security gate checkpoint, where you pass through the gate, and any kind of ID, any kind of explosive or gun will be caught then and there. So any kind of such explosive material would be captured right in the beginning, first gate. Even if somehow you manage to cross that, then you have a second gate where you will be personally frisked by a security officer who would personally check and who would also check your bag. Even if the first gate has failed because technical error, at least the intelligence second gate cannot fail because they're going to personally check. Imagine if even there is a compromise, even if fails there. At the third gate is lieutenant. He is personally seated there and he is checking the ID of everyone, and it is on to him, yes or no. It's entirely his call. If he has an iota of doubt, he can say, get out. How many of you think, अभी तो secure है भाई, अभी तो मैं 15 अगस्त का इवेंट खुशी खुशी अटेंड कर सकता हूँ? What do you say about it? Is it good security, yes or no? Raise your hand if you think this is a good level of security. I mean, now you can't really cross through it. Yes? All right, let's see what happens on 15th of August. Fantastic security setup. All of you have agreed upon it. And imagine you are the attendees of 15th August event now. Okay? The guy with the big beard and having a big coat with a briefcase in his hand with a sullen face is walking towards the checkpoint 1. शक्ल देख के ही लग रहा है गया गुजरा है. He reaches to the first gate, and before he could enter the security checkpoint, he blinked his eye at the security personnel standing there. Security personnel gets a signal and he switches off the security gate. And this guy very coolly passes off the first security gate. This is your security. First checkpoint is compromised. Why? The person standing, the security guard standing on the gate was party of this member. All right? ठीक है भाई, पहला गेट कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो गया, दूसरा गेट तो बचाएगा. He reaches to the second gate and now he is been personally checked by the security guards. Now the security said, चलो बॉक्स खोलो, क्या है इस briefcase में? And now this guy, with a sullen face, he unlocks, opens the briefcase. 3 live bombs. And security guard says, अबे तेरे को तो 5 लाने को बोला था, 3 ही लेकर आया. And the guy says, क्या करें भाई, बॉर्डर पे बहुत टाइट सिक्योरिटी थी, केवल 3 ही स्मगल हो पाया. And this guy says, security guy says, all right, proceed. Packs his bag, he is moving towards the third gate. Lieutenant or lieutenant is personally sitting there. He is going to check the ID and decide to allow or not allow. He reaches there and lieutenant makes a call to the gate where the security guard is there. He says, check the ID of everything. And then he says, all right, put him on the phone. And now the terrorist, known terrorist, is on the phone. And the lieutenant says, all right, तुम 3 बॉम्ब लेकर आए हो, उसको गेट नंबर 2, 5 और 7 पे लगा दो. ऑल द बेस्ट. राम नाम सत्य हो गया आपका. हाँ या ना? तुम लोग तो पार्टिसिपेंट हो, अभी खुशी खुशी गए थे फुल सिक्योरिटी मॉडल के संग. Like this is a story of our everyday Ram Nam Satya. What are the 3 gates which are compromised? First, senses. Here it is. First, senses. Second, mind. Third, intelligence. All 3 from our childhood are compromised. How can we really live a happy life? How much ever you strive for it, endeavor for it, it's just not possible. Without our knowing, we have been compromised. And the lust is conquered sitting over there. I don't want to give examples right now to help you, but I'm pretty sure you're intelligent enough to understand how these 3 things, at these 3 places, we go berserk. Okay, let's take a look. Let's revise what we have discussed. First, identify the hideouts of lust. So you have understood where the lust is sitting? Your knowledge acquiring senses, your mind, and intelligence. This is clear. Now, second, Krishna says, well, among the 3, You know where your enemy resides. Which among three can you control? Krishna says among the three, senses is the easiest to control. Because you can refrain and withdraw your senses. But something enters your mind, you cannot take it out of your mind. Yes? Intelligence is out of the question. So इसलिए महात्मा गांधी के 3 बंदर थे. बुरा मत देखो, बुरा मत सुनो, बुरा मत बोलो. आज महात्मा गांधी स्वयं ही आत्महत्या कर लेते हैं आज के तारीख में. हाँ है ना? बुरा ही देखने को मिलता है, बुरा ही सुनने को मिलता है. आज जब इतना कुछ हो गया तो कौन से तुम्हारे मुंह से अमृत धारा निकलेगी? हमें जैसा इनपुट है वैसे तो आउटपुट निकलेगा. You know, you have seen all bad, you have heard all bad. Are you going to sing glories of anyone? You're going to be, the abuse only going to come out. And that's an unfortunate situation. So, but there is an easy way to do that. I'll come to the solution. So Krishna says, second point, regulate the senses. Among all three, this is easiest to do it. So we have controlled the sense. We can control the senses. How to do it? I'll tell you. I'll give you the model. As I said, it's a process, so everything has a process. And then the third thing that Krishna says, identifies the place, regulate the senses. Then he says what to do with mind and intelligence. Krishna says in this senses, mind, intelligence, what is the relationship? Sense is the grossest. Superior to the sense is the mind. And superior to the mind is intelligence. If your intelligence gets purified, intelligence can control everything. Intelligence can control your mind, and when your mind is purified, mind can control senses. So then Krishna says, step number 3, strengthen the intelligence by hearing, reading, discussing, and apply Shastra. How does intelligence get purified? Function, first of all, you need to understand what intelligence is. Intelligence does not mean if you score good marks in your school, that is not at all a function of intelligence. It's a statement by unintelligent people calling a function of memory as intelligence. There is nothing intelligence about it. Recall, remember is a function of mind. Or you can say on a more grosser level, a brain. Not intelligence. Intelligence has a function of discrimination. To discriminate between right and wrong. How does it get applied to you scoring good marks? Because you memorize, mug it up, recall, and write it. There is no intelligence involved. To say your IQ is greater than that IQ, that fellow only who created that IQ has no IQ. Because he doesn't understand what intelligence is, first of all. So, intelligence means the ability to discriminate, ability to differentiate between right and wrong. How do you cultivate this ability? Only through knowledge. Yes or no? For example, you're traveling in a train. You feel thirsty. How many of you here would get down on a platform and fill your water bottle with the local tap water? How many of you will not do that? Raise your hands. You understand my question? Keep your hands up, those who have raised hands. For others, those who have not raised hands, let me just again repeat that. You are thirsty, your train stops at a station. You bring your empty water bottle to the local tap water and you fill it up. Yes or no? If you say no, raise your hand. Now, this is called as intelligence. This is called as intelligence. Now, and how did you apply your intelligence? Because you had a knowledge. The tap water could be polluted. So, this is wrong. Is that clear? This is how your intelligence functions. So, your intelligence gets sharpened by knowledge. Is that clear? And Krishna says, to sharpen your intelligence, we need a transcendental knowledge. Jnana and Vijnana. So how do you sharpen that? Through studying of Shastras. Books like Mahabharata, Ramayana and Bhagavad Gita. That teaches us what to do in different situations. what kind of decisions to make. Decision making is the ability of intelligence, not of the mind. These are the function of intelligence. All right. So let me give you a model which you can apply in your life, which will give the control, or which will help you defeat our eternal enemy known as kamaha, unfulfilled desires or lust. All right. Are you ready for that? Just don't listen. Don't trust your memory. Write it down. You will not even remember when you go down the stairs. So the first formula, the formula to defeat or the model to defeat is, it's a 4-step formula. The first, all of you got it? Something to note it down for yourself? Is A, association. Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, verse number 62, Krishna says, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa Sangaste Supajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. जैसा आपका संग होता है वैसे ही आपकी इच्छाएं बनती हैं. जैसा संग वैसा रंग. अगर आपको अपनी इच्छाओं में परिवर्तन लाना है, because that's an objective, that's how you defeat lust. So you have to take association of saintly people. Any doubts on it, or is it all clear? Now we're talking about a model, we're talking about a process. Of the 4-step process, the first step is to take association. Now for that, it is extremely important that at least once in a week, you got to take your time out to come and attend program like this over here, or you can go and visit any of the ISKCON temple, where you have some systematic study and education based on Shastras. This is a must, needed, required recreation. It's not optional. It is essential. For whom? For you. For your own well-being. There's no question asked, there's no compromise can be entertained here. And there's nothing like tomorrow. It got to be done today. Who has seen tomorrow? And if tomorrow is missed, God knows what you become from 2 legs. You don't want to go down to the level of 4 legs. And God knows in 4 legs what you become. There are many options. Okay. First step is clear? Sangha Sanjayate Kama, association saintly people. Next is B. B means books. Reading, wisdom, literatures. Krishna says intelligence gets purified by knowledge. How do you acquire knowledge? By reading books. So, association is of 2 types. Association of a person and association of information. Today, we associate less with people, but we associate more with information. What information? WhatsApp University is there to educate all of us. And then we have movies, then we have news, then we have media, you name it. So many things that you know far better than I know. So imagine so much junk we are reading on a daily basis. Kindly replace certain percentage of that junk with some wisdom books. You don't have it, go back to the table, you'll find some wisdom books. But, kintu, please remember, do not become victim to this idea that I will read a soft copy. Don't be so miser that you just don't want to spend even $200 or $300 to get a hard copy. Don't do that. How many of you have an experience when you just open your smartphone? Okay, let me ask this. How many of you have that experience? You open a smartphone to send a message, and after 20 minutes you're wondering, क्यों खोला था smartphone मैंने? हाथ खड़ा करो. हाथ खड़ा करो. सच मेरे से भी होता है. इसलिए मैंने कहा निताई को हरिबो स्मार्टफोन को छोड़ देता हूँ. कीपैड ही अच्छा है. I mean, I do have it. That's my secondary mobile. So don't give in to it. You know, it's a very strange of a mind works. We spend like this for all the wrong reasons. When it's the right reason, नहीं. Download मान लेंगे. Google सर्च कर लेंगे. सॉफ्ट कॉपी में पढ़ेंगे. जैसे ना जाने कितनी बुक्स पढ़ते आए आज तक सॉफ्ट कॉपी में. इतना भी गलत कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं होना चाहिए. नहीं होने वाला. So always have a hard copy. That's what we. So books purifies our intelligence. All right. C refers to chanting. So, intelligence, mind, and senses. Intelligence gets purified by reasoning with wisdom literature books, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Pancharatra, Chanakya Niti, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, etc. There's so much books, wisdom books we have available, only if we just have little desire to do it. All right. How do we fix our mind? Intelligence is fixed by reading books. How do we fix the mind? Because senses, mind, intelligence, all three are compromised, right? Mind gets purified through chanting. Mantra, meditation. Therefore, right in the beginning, I was emphasizing everyone should do it. If you have been coming around, please do it and see for yourself. And the best thing is free of cost. Nobody is asking you to, or nobody is not texting you. If you chant one time Hare Krishna, you have to give this much in return. Nothing, it's yours. Do it for yourself. And there's no fee, so why you're so worried about it? And that purifies and fixes our mind. So intelligence got fixed, mind got fixed. Not got fixed, but at least you got a solution for it. How do you fix senses now? And that brings us to letter D. A refers to association. If you see in association, you got wisdom, you got the chanting, and which means B and C, and you also get D. So A covers everything. So if you come weekly here, so your ABCD happens by default. But it should not be done weekly, it should be done regularly. So therefore I have often said, everything what we're doing here is also available online. How many of you have come here for the first time? Again, raise your hand, please. All right. Maybe I can do that later on. You can just go to YouTube, type Evolve Pune. You'll get our channel where all morning to evening programs are live streamed. You can always check it out. You have the ability to hear. You always get time. So what is D? What is D? Which purifies our senses? That's such an amazing subject matter. Maybe sometime in future, we'll just have a discussion on D. And this is D which we love so much. It's our favorite subject matter. Without it, we cannot live. In fact, we live only for it. आई चुप बैठो तुम लोग 10 बार सुन चुके हो ये नए लोगों के लिए था ये all right okay all right D refers to diet. It's a science. I mean, what can I say? I mean, most of you Indian have lived here. Some of you might have traveled abroad. I have traveled most of the places in the world. They don't even know what to eat. They don't even have cuisine. They don't know what it is. If you go abroad, you'll find Italian cuisine, you'll find French cuisine, you'll find Mexican cuisine, you'll find this and this. And each cuisine gets over in 3 to 4 items. That is their cuisine. Look in India. You go from one district to another district. Sab kuch badal gaya. Yes or no? South India. In North India, you might have eaten one kind of dosa. You go to South India, you have 50 varieties of dosa. You talk about rice, you have hundreds and hundreds variety of rice. I mean, that's a culture. It's a great science from where all this has come. Such a variety, such a capacity. We just, we are just losing it because we don't value what we have. So what is this D refers to diet here? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. What can be eaten? Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prachyati. So, as a spiritualist, we eat. I guess last time I spoke about sacrifice. Yagna Shishta Shano Shanto Muchyante Sarva Kil Vishahe. If you eat, it should be first offered as a sacrifice. And then we honor it as prasad. We talked about it, 3rd chapter, verse number 13. Even if it's a vegetarian diet, it will incur sin if we don't offer it first to the Lord. Because everything comes from the Lord. And that's the reason last time I was speaking about Pitru Paksh. What is Pitru Paksh? What's the importance of it? So Krishna says, what can be offered to me? So what we eat, before we eat, we offer to the Lord as our gratitude. My dear Lord, it's you who have provided everything. And Lord says, if you offer it to me, I will take all the discrepancies, everything away, all the faults away from it. He says 4 things. Patram. Pushpam, Phalam, and Toyam. Let's start with the last. Toyam means water. Phalam means fruits and berries. Pushpa means flower. You can consider cauliflower also. Flower, all right. And Patram, which means vegetables. So, what it refers to? A vegetarian diet. Only that can be offered to the Lord. What can be offered to Him? We can only accept that. So this whole idea of all this non-vegetarian and all these things, if you don't, I believe in today's culture it has become very prominent now. I left India for my studies back in 2007, and if I tell you about that time, prior to that, I did my engineering from South India, Vellore. I didn't see so many non-veg counters. I didn't see that much, neither in South nor in North. I come back in 2012, winding up everything and join as a full-time monk. Now when I travel, there are hardly vegetarian counters. It's largely non-vegetarian counters. So you, the young generation of you may think, अरे सब non-veg खाते हैं. अपने पूर्वजों से जाके पूछो, पहले सब शाकाहारी ही थे. वो तो अभी हाल ही में वेस्टर्न इन्फ्लुएंस एंड फूड कॉलोनाइजेशन के कारण अब ये नॉनवेज इतना हो गया है. अब डॉक्टर्स भी बोलने लगे नॉनवेज नहीं खाओगे तो शक्ति नहीं रहोगी, शक्ति नहीं रहेगी. अरे तो भीम ने कौन सा नॉनवेज खाया था भाई? तुम्हारे मराठा के जो क्या नाम है अपने शिवाजी महाराज ने कौन से अंडे खाए थे? अंडे नहीं खाओगे तो प्रोटीन नहीं मिलेगा. चप्पल उतार के मारनी चाहिए ऐसे लोग जो अंधविश्वास फैलाते हैं. व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ इट? थिंक अबाउट, लुक एट द हिस्ट्री. वेयर वाज इट? नाउ आई एम नॉट सेइंग दे आर एंटायरली रॉन्ग, दे आर आल्सो नॉट रॉन्ग. Why? Because we had vegetarian diet which was nutritious. Now there's so much fertilizers, so many things have been added, it has become contaminated. Now because that has become contaminated does not mean your meat is all pure. I mean, what are the animals eating? They're eating the same grass and vegetables which were actually meant for you. So do you think if they would have digested, they would have developed some nice extra protein? Therefore, if you see, the largest cause of diseases in the world is vegetarian, non-vegetarian diet. उसके लिए इंजीनियरिंग की डिग्री नहीं चाहिए समझने के लिए. Vegetarian diet is not the cause of disease. A non-vegetarian diet is the cause of disease. You talk about heart disease, you talk about any issue, not even the pandemics or epidemics, even the basic diseases is rises because of that. Because you're eating actually the secondary digested item, which is for you're eating a kind of a prasad of animal. Usne khaya chabaya that. So anyways, so diet, it has a great influence on our consciousness. So when we have this ahar, proper ahar, then our senses comes under control. शास्त्रिक प्रमाण, अतः श्री कृष्ण नामादि ना भवेत ग्राह्यम इंद्रिये. भगवान को समझना इंद्रियों के परे है. ठीक है? अतः श्री कृष्ण नाम आदि, नाम रूप गुण लीला, भगवान की समझना ये इंद्रियों के परे. अतः श्री कृष्ण नाम आदि ना भवेत ग्राह्यम इंद्रिये. सेवन मुखे ही जिह्वादौ स्वयं एव स्फुरति यदा. परंतु आपको तुरंत भगवान समझ आ जाएंगे. सेवन मुखे जिह्वादौ, अगर आप सेवा करते हैं, दो प्रकार सेवा करते हैं. सेवन मुखे जिह्वा दो, जिह्वा के माध्यम से अगर आप सेवा करेंगे तो आप भगवान को तुरंत प्राप्त कर लेंगे. ये शास्त्रिक प्रमाण है. अब जिह्वा के दो फंक्शन होते हैं, बड़बड़ाना और चाटना. राइट? विच मीन्स इन इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज टू वाइब्रेट, टू स्पीक एंड टू टेस्ट. सो व्हाट टू वाइब्रेट? What to vibrate? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Is that really difficult? And what to taste? Patram, Pushpam, Phalam, Toyam, Yome Bhaktya Prachati. So Father brings the rules and regulations to a level where child could easily accept and accommodate. Can you imagine? So simple is the process of bhakti yoga. You eat every day, You eat Krishna Prasad. You like to sing? Sing. There's a beautiful songs glorifying Lord. Sing that, which nourishes your heart and pacifies the heart of people around you. You don't have to give up anything, but accept the easier things. Everything else will fall in place. And that is the way we can defeat lust. So, is it hope giving or you're still demoralized? पहले थोड़ा डर लगा होगा सोच के कितना भयानक है lust. But is it possible now? Yes or no? Is it doable? So what do you have to do? You have to follow the process. Process has 4 steps. What is the first step? Say that loudly. First step? Association of saintly people. Sangha sanjayate kamaha. Jaisa sang, vaisa rang. And how do you do association? Have at least to begin with some weekly commitment. Be part of some forum where whatever happens, I'm going to do it. Is there a day which passes by you not eating anything? You make sure you eat it. So much time and energy we have spent on maintaining this body, which is not going to be there for you, with you for long. Please remember that. It will be taken away from you. So you have to spend so much time for it. Why don't we do something for our Atma? First thing. Second step, be for books, wisdom, literatures. Don't read a soft copy. Get a hard copy. If you're not sure what to read, meet me after the session. I'll give you a starter book which helps you to develop a reading habit. So you then get inspired to read. Don't get overwhelmed or frightened by looking at the big bulky book. I can recommend you small books. You just go into that process, it will find it very easy. What's the third step? Chanting. C for chanting. Now what does B, books influences? What does B fixes? Intelligence. What does C fixes? Mind. And what do we chant? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. C. Now what is the last step? Diet. Sevan mukhehi jivvaha dau. And if you have a proper diet, then you can control your senses. Not control the senses, but your senses gets purified. You defeat lust at senses by proper diet. You defeat lust at the mental level by chanting the holy names. You defeat lust at the intellectual level by studying scriptures. And all these 3 things happen automatically in the association of saintly people. So make sure it's a part of your schedule where you every week, and if potentially possible, every day. Our day starts at 4:30 every morning. 4:30 to 4:45 in the morning, we have a 15 minutes program, which we live stream. And after that, 4:45 onwards, we go for our meditation. That's not live streamed. And then our next program, which is live streamed every day, so every day schedule is 7:45 in the morning. 7:45 to 8:30, we have another program which is live streamed. This is like a morning breakfast. So this is a morning discourse or dialogue that we have it. That's often done by me only. And then we have evening programs. Different evening gatherings, evening programs are there for different occasions. And finally, we have weekend program where we come in person and meet. And where we get an opportunity to follow all the 4 steps, ABCD like this. So that's the subject matter of chapter 3. Chapter 3 talks largely about 2 subject matters, just to recap. One is Karma Yoga, the art of smart work. And second, lust, how to defeat lust. And as I said, those of you who had not come the previous session, please do make sure to watch the recording for your own benefit. How do we actually make our work as worship? Lust, we learned about the 3 sitting places: senses, mind, intelligence. For Karma Yoga, Krishna says, Mai Sarvani Karmani. So how do you make your work as a worship? Surrender work to Krishna, full knowledge of Him, without Nirashir Nirmamo Bhatva. And if you perform Karma Yoga, then it leads to transcendental knowledge. When your work becomes worship, it automatically awards you with transcendental knowledge. What is transcendental knowledge? Transcendental knowledge means 2 things. Okay, what is transcendental knowledge? It means 3 things. Who am I? My relationship, no, who am I? Who is the Supreme Father? and my relationship with Him. This is transcendent knowledge. So when we move forward to the chapter 4 next week, chapter 4 is a very exciting chapter. Chapter 4 going to talk about these two subject matter. What is the transcendental knowledge and how to acquire or how to receive that transcendental knowledge. So far it had been a discussion about you and I. Chapter 4, for the first time, there will be a discussion about our Supreme Father, Krishna. Before discussion about Krishna, Krishna will first of all give the history of Bhagavad Gita, how ancient this wisdom is. This is not 5,000 years ago. Bhagavad Gita was not first spoken to Arjuna. Arjuna was one of the students of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a timeless wisdom which Krishna himself informs Arjuna that how and at what time I spoke this knowledge to first Sun God. And that's a beautiful history that begins from there. We'll take a look at it next time. So with that, I'll discuss that different levels of work next time. So with that, I'll pause here. That's the subject matter that we covered today. Any questions, any comments? We'll take that. Yes, please. We have some hands up. Pass on the mic. Yes, please.
Yeah, my question is that.
Can you keep the mic closer?
Hello?
Yes.
While doing karma yoga, is it okay to have an ambition or is it same as having desire?
Oh, so please understand, while you are doing karma yoga or practice or spiritual life, there's never a compromise on ambition. The point is, being ambitious is okay. Being consumed by ambition is not okay. So for Arjuna to fight is ambitious. There has to have some ambition about it. Go on the war every day. You're not going to go into the war thinking that, aaj main haar jaunga. You go into your work field with some ambitions, but you don't get consumed by it. I'll tell you what it means by consumed by it. Now, Arjuna agrees to take to this perform his Kshatriya duty, right? Earlier he decides he's not going to fight. On the 12th day or the 11th day of the war, he lost his dearmost son Abhimanyu, who was killed through cheating. And Arjuna, when he came back later in the evening, and when there was a meeting assembled where all the Kshatriya means the leaders will come and sit, the asana of Abhimanyu was left empty. And if the asana is left empty in the evening, which means this soldier has died. And when Arjuna came back, everyone was assembled. There was only one asana which was left empty. That was Abhimanyu. Arjuna was heartbroken. Now, when you're consumed by ambition, then when you don't meet the result which you had expected for yourself, then what you do? You quit. You walk away. But in case of Arjuna, he cried. He was grief-stricken. Next morning, again he charged in the battlefield. That means being properly situated in ambition. And if you are consumed by ambition, that's the reason we all hear of the stories. For example, quota. In this year alone, almost 2-digit number have reached where the young kids have committed suicide because of work pressure or the study pressure. Would you say they were consumed by their ambition and they couldn't handle their ambition because they didn't got the expected results, so they felt, oh, what's the hope for me? That's the point. Be ambitious. How would you function in your life? I mean, Pandavas fought and they became the king. Can you become a king without having an ambition? But don't let your ambition consume you. So do not make spiritual life as an activity which is going to rob me of my ambitions. No, it is going to strengthen you, give you the ability to fulfill that while living a life. So that hoping for a brighter future, you don't spoil your present. So make your present perfect. If your present is perfect, your future is always bright. And that's the point of it. Thank you. Yes, anyone else? Yes, it's become faint now.
So is it okay to drink milk or offer it to God?
Can you just speak near to the mic? Yeah.
Is it okay to offer milk to God or few cuisines of milk to God?
Yes, milk items.
but it said no patra pushpa food item.
Yeah, so toyam milk, liquid item comes in that.
Okay.
Because there is no, slaughter, there is no violence committed. It's unfortunate thing today, the milk that we get is not also non-violent milk. And so if you have an access to non-violent dairy, ahimsa dairy, then you can take that. We have our own dairy here, we have our own goshala, so we get our milk from there. At the counter, you can ask for our own goshala contact, they'll deliver milk at you. We have our own cows here, and the milk comes from there. And they're taken care with proper love and affection, so you can get that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We have hands behind.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat.
Yes.
Prabhuji, my question is in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 40 itself, Indriyani Mano Buddhir. Prabhuji, they haven't mentioned anything about ahankar, जैसे मनोबुद्ध अहंकार होता है, तो अहंकार का इसमें mention क्यों नहीं किया है?
False ego, when this is fixed, your false ego would automatically gets fixed. Idea, what is false ego? Ego means I. False means false. So when your intelligence, mind and senses are properly situated, and then that illusion of the ego disappears automatically. The false ego means aham mameti, I and mine. When your intelligence is properly situated, then there is no question of false ego. So there is nothing that we have to separately address it. What we need to address is intelligence, mind and senses. False ego automatically becomes true ego once these three things are fixed. Therefore, Krishna doesn't speak about it also. Okay? Anything else? We have a question up in the front.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhuji, I just wanted to know, I'm a non-devotee, but when I do chant, there are so many things come into my mind, like of office work, food, family, party, and so many things. What comes in the mind of a pure devotee, like when they do chanting?
Well, that's quite a big journey you're talking about. First of all, let me just introduce for the sake of everyone. If you want to really have face-to-face with your mind, if you want to know what your mind is, sit down and chant. You'll got to witness your mind, how wild, how ferocious, and probably how contaminated it is. You will see your mind playing all the tricks, everything in front of you. That is the meaning of meditation. Face to face with your mind. So when you sit down, don't say, oh, since I started doing mantra meditation, I see my mind is giving very wrong ideas. Your mind had always giving the wrong ideas. For the first time you recognized it. Keep doing it, keep going through with it. It will stop giving you wrong proposals. It will become gradually purified. That's the way of it. Now, for the question of what happens in the case of an advanced devotee, the moment he chants, as we know from many examples in the history, the moment he chants, just like if you call your father's name, so your mind gets filled with the memories of your father. You call your lover or beloved. The moment you call your beloved, your mind gets consumed by the memories of your beloved. Yes or no? Similarly, when you call Krishna, when you call Hare Krishna, your mind will get consumed or filled with Guna, Rupa, Nam, Leela of the Lord. It is not happening today. Why? Because there's a trash bag. It's filled with all contamination, dirty stuff. First, we need to clean it. Therefore, when we start mantra meditation, it is called Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreyo Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandambudivardhanam Pratipada Purnamitam Swadanam Sarvatma Sanapanam Param Vichyate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So when you take to the process of chanting, then Chetaha Darpan Marjanam. Then Marjana. Marjana means cleansing. And that's how cleansing happens. So, what does ISKCON do? It does brainwashing. दिमाग को पकड़ पकड़ के धोता है ताकि दिमाग की जितनी भी गंदगियां हैं वो निकल जाएं. All right? How many of you every day clean your house? Raise your hand. How many of you every day wear a fresh piece of cloth? Raise your hand. How many of you every day cook fresh or eat fresh? Raise your hand. मतलब खाना पीना सब फ्रेश, सिर्फ एक ही चीज सड़ा के रखी हुई है. क्या है? अपना दिमाग. और उस सड़े हुए दिमाग के संग हम समाज में सड़ी हुई सी शक्ल बनाकर घूमते रहते हैं. लोग बोलते हैं मुस्कुराते क्यों नहीं? इतना ही है और नहीं निकलेगी स्माइली से. देखा लोग वो ऐसे आते हैं जैसे ना जाने किसी से पिटाई खाकर आए हों. You know, it's just natural. The face is the index of mind. So what you look at the face when you see, it's just because of your mind is so troubled. And if your mind is calm and composed, you'll see the calmness of the face of the person. Therefore, if you look at the child, why young kids are so attractive? Their face is innocent. Their face looks so calm. Their eyes look so clear. Why? क्योंकि सारी टेंशन माँ बाप की, अपने को क्या करना है. So they don't have anything. All the tension belongs to the parents. So they have a clear, composed mind, and therefore their face is so sweet, innocent, and everyone, likes to be with the child for that reason. That's the point about it. Yes, please.
Good evening, sir. You mentioned 3 places where lust is present. So the mind. But the mind which you're talking about, is that the conscious mind or the subconscious mind? And there's we call man also. So man is what we call in Hindi. But what is man in English? Is it heart, mind, or?
So man has different meanings how it is used.
Okay.
Man, according to the context. When it comes to Sanskrit language, one word has at times multiple meanings. How do you understand what is the meaning of that word in that situation? It has to be seen in the usage and the context. So here Krishna says, Indriyani mano buddhir. So Indriya means senses, buddhir means intelligence, so mana refers to mind. But at times manaha can also mean heart. But it depends on the context, the usage. So what was mentioned here is very clear. Indriya means senses, buddhir means intelligence. So what mana then refers to? Mind, like that. So mana, mind. Now mind do have 2 states. That subject matter maybe I can discuss more in the 6th chapter when Dhyana Yoga would be talked about. Is a subconscious and the conscious mind. And we largely function on unconscious state. We have created a new state for our mind called as unconscious. हमें पता ही नहीं होता क्या चल रहा है दुनिया में. हमारे कलयुग के लोग इतने महान योगी हैं, वो आंखें खोलकर समाधि में चले जाते हैं. They are lost in trance while their eyes are wide open. तो देख के पता नहीं चलता सो रहा है जाग रहा है, क्योंकि मन कहीं और दौड़ चुका है. I'm just joking. So generally there are 2 states, subconscious and conscious mind. Subconscious mind is a situation where all your past life memories, everything is stored. And sometimes it becomes activated. And how it becomes activated? In sleep. How many of you had dreams flying in the sky? How many of you had dreams running through the forest? How many of you had dreams drowning in water? Or somebody have thrown you off the building? How many of you have those dreams, any of these dreams? None of these would have happened with you in this lifetime. This is coming from your subconscious mind, where suddenly subconscious mind is like an ocean. Suddenly there is wave. And the past experiences come out on the surface. Now it's not that it is not happening now, but right now we are in a very active state. Therefore, we are not able to fathom the subconscious mind. But when we go to sleep, that is called supti avastha. When you got in that state, then there is no physical action. then you can hear the sound of the waves which are arising in your subconscious mind. And that's the time you get into all these dreams. So that's the subconscious mind, and then the conscious mind is what you're doing right now, doing while interactions, like this.
I remembered one more question. As you said, there are two states of mind. I was recently reading a book, and in that it was mentioned subconscious mind is equal to the soul. So is it true?
Well, it depends on the knowledge of the author. You tell me the author, then I'll tell you how true it is. Whose book it is? Who's the author here?
The book was wrote in 1900 century. In the name, author was her name was Florence. The name of the book is The Game of Life and How to Play It.
Game of Life, Flores.
And how to play it.
Yes, you have to tell me her educational degree. Then I'll tell you how did she play the game of life. Did she win or lost it? Okay. So we all can make assumptions like this, and just like if I want to learn about medical science, I can attempt to learn it on my level, and I can learn it to a certain extent. But I cannot match the level of skill set of somebody who has graduated from AIIMS Medical College in Delhi. Isn't it? So, based on my level of knowledge, I know this much medical science. So, how much would I speak? That much I know. But that's not the end of knowledge. So, in her case, what's her knowledge would tell us if she reached her end of knowledge or was she something somewhere in between. So, this is if in case you philosophize life, this is what as far you can get, where you say your subconscious mind is soul. But somebody has to educate about soul, and only that person can educate who knows what the nature of soul is. All right? Yes.
Thank you, sir.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी, जैसे डाइट के बारे में बात चल रही थी कि वेजिटेरियन लेना चाहिए, तो कई स्टूडेंट्स या कई जैसे हमारे फेलो फ्रेंड्स होते हैं जब उन्हें बोलते हैं कि वेजिटेरियन डाइट लेनी चाहिए, तो वो एक बड़ा एक एक्सक्यूज़ बताते हैं कि ये तो एक लाइफ साइकिल है, अगर हम उन्हें नहीं खाएंगे तो कल को इतनी तादाद में हो जाएंगे वो हमें खा जाएंगे।
तो इसको बोलो, मैं किचन वाले को बोलता हूँ तेरे को पका के खिलाए कल। लाइफ साइकिल है ना, कल तूने मुर्गा खाया, कल फलाने ठिकाने बनिए को पकाना, तो क्या मतलब है। नेक्स्ट।
Hare Krishna Guruji. Krishna tells Arjuna that Kama is your greatest enemy. If you read any mantras, then there are four things. Like you will be blessed by...
If you read mantra.
Any mantra. Like if you read Atharva Shirsh, Vishnu Sahasranam, you will be blessed by Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. In one side, God is blessing us with Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And other side... Krishna is telling Kama is your greatest enemy. So why this contradiction?
Yes, so there's no contradiction. The contradiction is in the meaning of the word Kama. I just answered your question prior to that gentleman's question about mana. What does mana means? And I said in Sanskrit, one word has multiple meanings depending on the context it is used. Kama here, when it is used to desires. Desires which are not in line with our relationship with the Lord. When it is said dharma, artha, kama, moksha, that is called as purushartha. Purushartha shiromani. So for those who cannot take to the path of exclusive karma yoga, for them there is dharma, artha. Through the practice of dharma, you get artha. Dharma refers to your occupational duty. You get artha because of your occupational duty. Dharma gives you artha. Through the artha, you can fulfill your desires. That kama does not refers to unregulated desires. It refers to regulated desires, regulated through the wisdom of Shastras. What you are allowed to do, what you are not allowed to do. So that kama refers to having a vegetarian diet for your food. Not that because you get artha, you're going to kill animals and eat it. That is not purushartha. And then when you live your life like this, dharma gives artha, artha says you fulfill your needs, then finally you take to the path of liberation. So that's a different. All right?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So thank you all for your kind attention and thank you for your sacrifice. आप सभी ने आज इंडिया पाकिस्तान का मैच सेक्रीफाइस कर दिया ज्ञान वर्धन करने के लिए, तो हम आपके प्रति बहुत आभार प्रकट करना चाहेंगे। आप सभी के लिए एक बार जोर से हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र बोल के आभार प्रकट करते हैं। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण।